Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Adult Learner Lounge. It is me, Shannon. Hi, welcome back. How are you? Okay, it feels like it's been a long time. It really has not. I did post a video last week, but it just feels like it's been a long week. But I hope you're doing well. Right? How are you? How are things? How has your week been? Um, Hopefully good, right? Hope everything is going quite right in your world. As far as I'm concerned, feeling better. This past week, I I've already shared like I've been dealing with health issues, and this past week I had to have a procedure done that I've been waiting for some time, for like almost a year now. But I was finally able to get it done, and just had a lot of downtime this week. Now that I've been dealing with health issues, I can tell you this for certain, right? This is what I know for certain now. I thought I understood what, getting good sleep and rest was when I wasn't dealing with health issues, right? I thought I did okay. I am someone who usually can make it like off of 5 or 6 hours of sleep. Like, I've always been that way. So if I got anything more than that, it sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But as long as I hit that like magic number about like 5 to 6 hours, then I was good, right? And I like to take a nap, right? I've always liked to take a nap, even when I was younger. I didn't have to wait to get older to appreciate it. I've always appreciated a good siesta, right? So I am. I thought that I knew, right? Like I had a lock on the whole light. Oh, I get enough sleep and I get proper rest. Mm-mm. I didn't know anything about those things, right? Like my body is going through some things and it requires different things. And so, just like for the past year and a half that I've been, like I said, battling it out with health issues, I've also, like a silver lining to that is that I have a newfound appreciation for proper sleep and proper rest, right? It literally can change a life, right? It can save a life and change a life because I've been getting such good sleep lately and such good rest, right? Like there have been a few times where I awaken like scared, you know, like checking, like am I breathing? Like the glass to your nose, right, or putting a finger on the nose to see if you're breathing, or checking the pulse. Because sometimes I have woken up from a deep sleep, and just like feeling like right. But overall, yeah, like aside from those few scares, I've been getting such good rest and such good sleep. And once I'm done with my health issues, because this will be coming to a close, thankfully, yeah, I'll never go back. I'll never go back to the way things were. I was wrong all those years, and now I feel like I'm right. My body is basically screaming, right, and demonstrating to me like, nah, bitch, you need to lay down, like, lay low, right, and get some rest. So I am doing that, and thank you very much. All right, so this week, before we get into what we're talking about this week, let me start by setting our mood, right? So we're here at the lounge today, and what we are listening to, right? And I'm going to share with you what I'm sipping on, and I would like for you, of course, to let me know what you're sipping on in the comments. Now, if you're new here, this is something that I do for every video. Like every time we're in the lounge, right? Yes, we're in my kitchen right now recording. I'm in my kitchen recording, but uh, theoretically and metaphorically speaking, this is the lounge, right? And we always want to set the mood because this is a place for us to just kind of unwind and share and just be chill, right? So it's always good music and usually something good to drink, right? Now, am I drinking these drinks, right? Am I literally drinking these drinks? No. Like, I wish I were, but no. Like I haven't really been, since I've been having health issues, I really haven't been drinking either, right? So it's like, But I remember. My memory is long, so I remember my drinking. I remember drinks, tasty drinks, frosty beverages. But yeah, so we are talking now. Can you be drinking in the literal sense? Yes, right. Please, by all means, have a drink on me if possible. But yeah. So I just like to think. I think it's something fun, right? Like just to kind of put us all on the same page, right? So as far as the song, we are listening to Brother to Brother, Chance with You, right? I will put a link to this, right? It's one of those. It's a 70s song, I believe. I didn't like go and do like a Wikipedia search or a Google search on the song. I know that I have it in my rotation here, like one of my YouTube playlists. But I've loved the song since I was a kid, right? Um, it's really funky, right? It's like what I do think, what I recall about Brother to Brother, I think they're like a British funk band, right? They were like a British soul R&B and funk band. And so they may have had other songs, but I guess the big hit, like if they are truly a one hit wonder, was Chance with You. And it's just real chill and like and funky. And when you listen to it, you just want to like kind of like bop and bounce in your sleep, like bop, bop, bounce, bounce. 'Cause that's the way that the bass, right, comes in and it stays that way. Awesome song, real chill track. We're listening to it. I will link to it in the description. Okay. What are we drinking? Now, again, you tell me what you're drinking in the comments. I can tell you what I'm drinking. So, imagination, right? I'm like SpongeBob, imagination. Or really, I'm like Doug Henny, right? I think SpongeBob took that from Doug Henny with the whole imagination. But as I'm imagining my drink, I'm sipping on a hard hot chocolate. All right, a hard hot chocolate. Um, I guess people know about these, about hard hot chocolates or about that drink. I have been out in the past and ordered one, had one, and someone's just like, oh, like almost just like I would have never thought to, spike hot chocolate, but it's a thing, right? Um, I've had, I don't get them often, like, I did not, I have not had them often throughout the years, right? Throughout my drinking years, I'm a social drinker, but it's like, um, the few times I've had them though, the first time I had it, it was made with Bailey's, right? And it was okay. I feel like whoever made it, I cannot remember where I was at a restaurant. I can't remember where, but whoever made it, I think just put too much Bailey's in it because like it led with Bailey's, and I'm like, I know Bailey's is good with like chocolate and things like that, like hot chocolate and things like that, but it was something about it. It was like cloyingly sweet to me, right? And I didn't taste enough chocolate. So I was just like, oh, and it wasn't bad. It was just okay. But then later on, I had it again, right? And I had mentioned that to like the server. I was like, do we have? Because I just okay, not really knowing, not even thinking about it. Right, my brain was like on like shorthand. Basically, it was like my assumption was that that was the way that hard chocolate is made with Bailey's. And so I asked the server just one day out of curiosity, how does that made? Like, is it Bailey's? And the server was like, well, it could be, but it could be other, liquor store, other things too. And so I said, well, and he saw me like trying to like rack my brain to figure this out. And then he made a recommendation and he was like, if you, um, are trying to figure out what to put in it, he said, I recommend amaretto, right? And I'm like, oh, because, it's like a hot chocolate, like a proper hot chocolate and then the amaretto, which is like almond liqueur for the most part, right? And so he's like, they to me, kind of go well together. So I ordered that. I'm like, well, let me have a hard chocolate with amaretto. So they bring it out to me, and it's like Starbucks, right? Um, it's beautiful. Right? It's got the whipped cream on top and the chocolate drizzle, and I'm stirring and I sip it, and oh god, it was so good, so good. so Okay, so I'm sipping on a hard hot chocolate. And again, let me know what you're sipping on in the comments. Okay, so this week, I was supposed to have this video out to you all last week, but I woke up, had so many thoughts on the brain, and I said, I think in the last week's video that I was definitely easy like Sunday morning, right? And I wanted to share in that moment my thoughts with you because they were about you, right? So I went ahead and just like shot the video in the car on the fly, which was fine, right? So that's the video that you got last week. But this week I'm back to my regularly scheduled programming because, yeah, what I'm starting to discover about myself with this whole YouTube thing is that it's definitely a learning curve for me. It's pretty steep. Um, it's not that I can't talk. I could talk and talk and talk, but being like just being in front of a camera is really still like kind of awkward to me. I'm getting better, right? Because I've been doing a lot of recording. things that I haven't, just posted yet, but just trying to put myself at ease in front of the camera. But it's working, right? I know that this to me is so worth it, right? I'm not just doing this. I think I've already said that too in the last week's video. I'm doing this for a host of reasons, but chief among them is to help you become the best version of yourself. That's it, hands down, right? For you to tap into our superpower, to all about your superpower, my superpower, like the superpower that we all possess as humans, which is the ability to learn, right? I'm trying to have you just be like a super learner, like so fierce with the learning, right? That nobody can tell you shit, right? Can't even touch you. I want us all to be that way. Like, damn it, I know. How do you know? Because I know, right? My brain works. I know. It's critical. It's analytical, right? It communicates well. It thinks. It does all of these things, right? It figures shit out. It solves problems, right? It researches. It understands, right? It comprehends all of that, right? So that's the goal of this. And so me staying on task just really helps me. Right? I need to do the best job possible. I know, like right now, I'm still in the early stages, and this shit is rough. Like I can't even lie, but it will get better. I feel like it's getting better too. So there you have it. All right. So this week, what we are diving into is 7 reasons why adults either start or return to CTE programs. CTE is an acronym for Career and Technical Education, right? Um, I don't have an exact date. I didn't even bother to look this up, but I can kind of spitball here. So let's say like about maybe 20 something years ago, um, there was just like other fields, there's a lot of jargon in education if you haven't figured that one out, right? A lot of words, they sound important. A lot of $5 and $10 words that really just mean, something else that could be said in the most economical way possible. But career and technical education is one of those like buzz or jargon words that really now, right, simply means trade and vocational. That's it, right? Um, However, I think, and this is just me, I didn't look up the origins, but just knowing my field, right? I've got 16 plus years working in higher ed at this point, and knowing sometimes why, we have these new terms and new phrases or this new terminology for something that's been around for forever. Um, Sometimes it's like PR, right? It's done to kind of update it, to bring it into the 21st century, and sometimes it's done to unify and join, right? I'm going to go on a mini rant before we get into the 7 reasons, right? But my mini rant is this, right? To me, it kind of makes sense because um, maybe you or someone right? When it comes to post secondary education simply just means one of those $5, $10 words, right? Anything after high school is post secondary, right? High school is what we know as what we refer to as secondary education, right? So it's pre K, it's elementary, secondary, high school. And then anything after that, anything additional after that is post secondary. But that's just it. Any type of learning after high school is post secondary, including vocational and trade schools, right? Maybe again, you or someone right, there may have a definite opinion about college, about university, about academic programming, or they may have a definite opinion about career and technical programming, right? Or vocational and trade, right? Which is, like I said, the same thing for the most part, or means the same thing. And what I've experienced over the years is that not only do people have definite opinions, but there is like it's hotly debated. It's widely contested, right? Like a lot of the conversations around like is college valuable? Is a liberal arts degree even worth it anymore? Because somebody can go into the trades and make a lot more money, 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 money. If the only thing that you were trying to get your education for, or pursue education at the post-secondary level was for money, then okay, go to where the money is, right? That part makes absolute sense, right? Now, people do that often. Doesn't mean that they're going to be good at it, but they try, right? And often, you kind of see where who sinks and who swims, right? A topic for another conversation. I'm just on a mini rant, but I think you see my point. So within this spectrum of post secondary education, right? Um, I call it like an umbrella or a tent, really. To me, it's a very big tent, right? All these different types of education can fit comfortably under that tent. So to me, and I've said this like countless times, even though I just started this channel and I've just really putting up like just started putting up videos, I've said probably several dozen times already that it's to me, it's just on points on a spectrum, right? Points on a line. So on that post-secondary education spectrum, there's a place for academic programming and there's a place for career and technical programming. But it's still on the same spectrum. It's still learning after the secondary level, meaning that a lot of what it takes to be successful in an academic program is the same shit that you need to be successful in a career and technical program, right? It's not everything. It's not an apples to apples comparison. No, right? The programming in a lot of ways is different, and we'll talk about that in a moment. However, it's still an apples to oranges comparison, meaning that fruit to fruit. It's still freaking fruit, right? It's still freaking fruit, right? I'm not telling, it's not like, okay, well, yeah, it's like apples to purple or some shit like that. No, 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 that's not how it works or how it functions at all, right? At the end of the day, it is still post secondary learning. And that is my pet peeve about it. I don't like when people on either side of the house, right, attempt to differentiate. Like it's so different. And it's like, no, no, it's not so different, right? It's not. And how I know this, how there's evidence that it's not so different is that often a lot of these career and technical programs, you will find them at like a 2-year community college. Your community college in your area has a litany of career and technical programs. They have a whole department just dedicated to that, right? Just like someone can earn an associate's degree in more academic fields or areas like um, chemistry or business or something along those lines, they can also earn an associate's degree in automotive technology, right? Or HVAC, heating, vacuum, air conditioning, whatever, right? Um, you could do that as well. And in addition, a lot of times, even still today, the unions that represent the workers in a particular field, the plumbers and electricians and the masons and things like that, they also still have their trade schools, right? I'm in the Chicagoland area, so every union, we're a union town, right? The whole area, doesn't matter where. And the unions still run their trade schools, right? That hasn't changed where I'm from, right? Meaning that, yeah, right? So there's plenty of these opportunities out there. And to me, it's not a difference, right? It's a different type of learning, but it's still post secondary learning, right? You still have to be at that level. And I don't like when there's this whole like debate or this like perception or idea that no, like it's something so foreign or so far removed. That's bullshit. It's not. That's not right. What I have experienced professionally is that um, typically what I've experienced is that there are individuals who started in career and technical fields and went through training and certified and licensed and everything like that. And then they come over to the academic side and do great, right? Because again, whatever it was that made you successful in that type of program will also likely help and serve you in this type of programming, right? Rarely have I, if at all, encountered someone who was making the leap out of like who started on the academic side and then went over to the career technical side. However, um, I want to say maybe like a year or two ago, I'm a news junkie. I remember reading this awesome article, and I will find it and link to it. I will find it and link to it about a gentleman. I want to say he might have been like in a place like Ohio or something. I can't remember where he was from, but the gist of the article was that this gentleman was born and raised in this community. He was an auto mechanic, right? So he was an auto mechanic, and he had been like the neighborhood community auto mechanic for years. He had a shop, everybody knew him, everybody did business with him, and he was already serving his community. He was very involved in his community. But the thing that stood out to him was how a lot of his neighbors, community members, his elders in the community, they were dealing with all of these health issues, and he was just like thinking, how could he better serve them? So in his like 40s, he went back to school, finished his degree, applied to med school, got accepted, finished med school, uh, sat for the state boards, passed the state boards, and became a board certified MD and went back to his community to work. And serve his community in a different capacity. When I read that story, I almost leapt out of my chair. It was almost like education porn, right? I could not get enough of it. I was sitting there just like, yes, yes, because it was just so amazing to me. But at the same time, in my mind, that's how it should be all the time, right? Because I don't like it when people sell themselves short to think that just because you may, you know, prefer one style of learning to another, that you don't have the capacity, right, to learn in a different way. You do. Often we do. You just need the right help, the right support, right? Maybe you need to just kind of frame it in the right way, right? Which is something that I know about, which is why I'm here doing this with you now, right? Lucky are we all, right? So how fortunate are we? Right? Yeah, that was exciting, and it gets me excited. So that's my mini rant, right? So let me shut up about it. I'll probably rant about it later, not in this video, but in other videos, because it's like it drives me crazy. But just know that here at the Adult Learner Lounge, it doesn't matter what type of learning that you are embarking upon or that you wish to embark upon. I'm here for you, and I'm here for it. So if you are good with your hands, great, right? And I know that you're probably also good with your brain. You're probably very spatial, right? um, and have the capacity for many things. And if you are someone who might be the brainiac, but have always been interested about whatever, like, kind of like I'm interested in these things, like working with my hands, not a problem. I'm here for all of you, okay? And we're here for each other. All right. So having said that, rant's over, right? Let me jump into finally the 7 reasons why adults start or return to CTE programs. Okay, so just like with the last video that I did before, the video I did before, with the 7 reasons why adults go back to college and universities, go back to school for college and university programs. This list is not exhaustive, number 1. I'm only looking at 7, like the 7 main reasons why, number 2. There's no particular order with this, right? So it's not like one of these reasons is any more important than the other. And I'm peppering, right? And I'm imbuing these reasons with some stats too, right? Like I said, I will always, 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 when I can find them, pull stats from stats, data, whatever. When I do my research, I'm pulling from credible, reliable sources so that we can all trust and verify. Look, I'm verifying, but we can trust the information, right? Because I just want to make sure um, I'm providing accurate information and not inaccurate. So I have my papers here. I know what I need to start doing, which ultimately I will, is just kind of like having multiple screens up. I could do it, but I'm an old school person in the sense that it's like, just let me just print something out or write something down and let me just kind of like read from it. It just makes my life easier. But, you know, I need to improve my skills here. So there you go. All right. So let me start off with a little bit of like some stats so we could just kind of see where we are as far as career and technical education is concerned here in the United States. Okay. So I went to Google's version of AI, which is Gemini, right? It's very helpful with these types of questions and this type of research. So the first thing I asked Gemini was about enrollment, right? So, let me know or tell me, like give me some figures or some numbers about how many students nationwide are enrolled in career and technical programs, right? And so this comes from, or these stats come from the National Center for Educational Statistics, or for Education Statistics, excuse me, the NCES. As far as a government data set, it's like the BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. NCES is like a monster data set, right? And it encompasses educational data from across all levels, from pre-K all the way up to post-secondary, and definitely for all types of post-secondary learning, including career and technical, vocational, trade, whatever you want to call it, okay? Like I said, because anything after high school is still post-secondary learning. Anyway, I digress. So I asked for a number, and what Gemini told me was, and they went back to the 2015-2016 academic or school year. Why? Because sometimes when you want the most accurate, even if it might be from like a previous time, it could have been like the last time that the data was compiled and verified, right? So is it current? Not as current as I would have liked, but if this is the last good data, like the last good number that they had back in 2015, 16, I'll take it, because it's really just kind of giving us an idea, right? We're spitballing and estimating here. But the NCES reported or stated that in 2015-16, there were about 4.7 million students who were enrolled in post-secondary CTE programs here in the United States. And this included public two-year colleges, community colleges, and less than two-year institutions. What is a less than two-year institution? Um, that could be something that's private, basically, right? So I don't know if I don't think they're still. They may still be open. They may not. I'm not sure. I haven't heard or seen commercials in years now. But um, there was an institution, ITT Technical Institute, right? They used to have commercials on TV all the time, right? And ITT is one of these less than two-year institutions. They're private, but their whole thing is like technical training, right? So they had a lot of different technical training programs that they offered, and someone could go that route, right? I have a nephew who I love dearly who went through a program at one of these types of institutions, and I've already reached out to him to ask him if he can come here on the channel with me and let's talk about his experience. And he said he would love to. Just let him know. So I'm going to try to set that up soon. But yeah, so ITT Technical Institute is one of those less than two-year institutions. As we remember back in the Obama administration, right, they were coming hard for the bad actors in the private for-profit education sector, right? All of them were not bad actors. Some of them were bad actors. But at the same time, a lot of the career and technical institutions were just that. Like, so think like Everest College, which does not exist anymore, right? That was a career and technical institution as well. A lot of people went there because their focus mostly was like healthcare, right? And they were offering a lot of these less than 2 year programs, meaning that every program that was offered did not take 2 years to complete. Now, at a community college, they also can have trainings and things like that, different types of CTE programs that don't take 2 years. But then you also, for a lot of the programs, have the option of going 2 years, and then you can earn your, typically, it's an associate's of applied science degree, right? So, for instance, when I worked at the community college years ago, they had a pretty robust Associates of Applied Science and Automotive Technology program. There's a lot of individuals in that program, and it was a really good, well-run program, right? So those types of training programs or CTE programs, they don't have to be 2 years. They can be less than 2 years, right? And they could be again offered at a public two-year community college or at a private institution. All right. So that's the first stat I want to throw out there. Then I also asked Gemini about apprenticeships, right? Because the traditional like trade school model is just that you come into the trade school and you do the training. It may be a couple of months, right? But they give you enough of a foundation and then they cut you loose and then you are rolled into basically an apprenticeship, right? For some trades, the apprenticeship could be, several years, like maybe 3 or 4 years. For some others, it may be longer, but you kind of like are year one, year two, whatever. And then once you are done, you are now a full-fledged whatever, a full-fledged electrician, a full-fledged plumber, carpenter, right? Whatever. So apprenticeships, are a huge part of the learning process, right? So based on that, I asked the question of how many, were in existence here. How many apprenticeships are out there? And this information comes from the U.S. Department of Labor. They have an Employment and Training Administration Department, or ETA, and they actually oversee and track, or they track the apprenticeship programs throughout the country. So it says that in 2021, there were over 588,000 active apprentices in the National Registered Apprenticeship System, right? Now, I asked these questions because I was basically trying to find out if in the NCES data particularly, was there a distinction made for any adult students or learners 25 and up in either a CTE program or doing these apprenticeships. And what I basically was provided here with Gemini is that no, right? They're not really kind of having anything. It's not very granular in the sense that they're like drilling down into saying, oh yeah, in these types of programs, 25 and older, or students 25 and over comprise this number of students. They have more of that type of data when it comes to the academic programs, not with the career and technical. However, right, with 4.7 million students, we are safe to assume that a number of them are going to be students well over the age of 25. That's it. So there are adult learners represented. Okay. All right. So I wanted to start there, just kind of like I said, throw these few stats out here. And now I'm going to move on to the first of the 7 reasons. All right. So here's reason number 1, that adults either start or return to career and technical programs. High demand and job security. High demand and job security. Okay, which is just like with the other list that I did, the 7 reasons why adults are going back to college and universities. Duh, right? It's like, duh, of course they're going back for high demand and job security. Okay, so it says here from the BLS, right? U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, that many trade occupations such as electricians, plumbers, and wind turbine technicians are projected to grow faster than the average for all occupations, right? So basically, right, this indicates strong demand and good job prospects. So basically, a lot of adults are doing these types of programs because there's a high demand for this skilled labor and job security, right? Now, I think at this point, if you're watching, we're all of a certain age. I'm in my 50s. I'm a Gen Xer. We've all had to deal with a skilled laborer, right? Like in some capacity. So once you know that, like that's it. You know that for the rest of your life. You can kind of do that until you just can't do it anymore. So there has historically been job security, right? And as they say in certain fields, it's projected to grow. So yeah, you do this for high demand and because these jobs are in high demand and you want job security. So why does it matter? I asked Gemini to analyze this, like, well, why is this important? So um, it says adults, particularly, right? Adults seek stable employment, and trades often offer this due to consistent. Hold on. I'm sorry, due to consistent demand for skilled workers. So let me say that again. So I'm on 2 pages. Adults seek stable employment, and trades often offer this due to consistent demand for skilled workers. That's it, right? So I have a couple of data, just I'm sorry, data points, or just a couple of stats here too. So in regards to data and projections, right, since they mention it here is the first reason. So the BLS also states that, for instance, right, they gave some examples. For electricians, right, employment is projected to grow by 6% from 2022 to 2032, right? That's for electricians. For construction laborers, employment is projected to grow by 5% from 2022 to 2032, right? And then they talked about specific trades that are in high demand: electricians, plumbers, HVAC techs, welders, construction workers, wind turbine technicians, and I've never heard of this, but like solar techs and solar tech installers, that's a high demand trade. Okay. I also asked it about IT, right? Because for many people, if IT kind of straddles a fence to me, right? But IT is definitely career and technical, right, at its core. So the BLS states that yeah, and as far as data and projections are concerned, when it comes to IT, it is a fast growing field, right? So between 2022 and 2032, they project almost 400,000 job openings each year in that 10-year period on average, right? So there's growth there, very good growth potential there when it comes to IT. The same thing with healthcare as well. Okay, so that's reason number 1: high demand and job security. All right, all right. Let's go on to reason number 2. Okay, reason number 2: earning potential. Right, duh, but earning potential. BLS Occupational Outlook Handbook. Right, the BLS has this handbook. It provides a median annual wage for various skilled trades, right? Occupations within skilled trades, right? So basically, for example, they give an example. The median annual wage for electricians was about $60,000 in May of 2022, right? Now, we talked about like average wages and income when we did the seven reasons for, academic programming, right? But this 60,000 on average for electricians alone, right? It tracks with what we know about, those adults, who are pursuing academic learning, right? This is just the average. And this in particular is the average wage for an electrician, right? So depending on where you live in the United States, this $60,000, right, that's a healthy wage, right? It's not the only wage, but it's definitely a healthy wage, right? And again, this is not requiring a degree. This is you going the career and technical path where you're doing other types of learning, and that's a very like I said, a respectable wage, right? Not just healthy, but respectable. Here it says that when it comes to some of these, as we already know, when it comes to some of these skilled laborers and these skilled trades, someone can earn in excess of someone who has a bachelor's degree. We already know that, right? So the earnings potential, definitely a reason. Why it matters. Adults may be motivated by the potential to increase their income and financial stability. And again, we know that, right? Another video that I did already was the adult learning theory, right? The Malcolm Knowles, and it looked at the reasons, right? Like what is it that motivates, or how is it that adults are able to learn, right, as adults, right? And our motivations, right? What motivates us is different. It's not that a younger person does not want job security, right? But a younger person just starting out, doesn't have the added pressures of, of having to maintain a household, a family, right? The added responsibilities and so forth and so on. Some do, but overwhelmingly they don't, right? So they could be looking ahead to the future. But when it comes to us who are, already adults, we've already entered the workforce and so forth and so on, right? We got to do something about that. We have to be able to maintain or hopefully, push ourselves further up, right? And ascend, right? So that we can make more money, right? When I was working at the community college, I was a success coach and I had to interact with all types of students, but I did have a number of the students from the auto tech program come through and talk to them and just checked in with them. And if they needed anything, resources or whatever to help them through the program, that's what I was there to provide, or, to plug them into. Now, I remember that there was a student, we were about the same age, like I was in my 30s at the time. He was in his 30s at the time. Awesome guy. And he was crushing it, right? It wasn't like he came to me because he was having problems. He came to me because he was trying to like do. He was doing a lot, and he understood that the resources at the college, excuse me, had to provide can help him, right? And he had success, like just kind of like navigating that system on his own because he's a smart adult, right? But yeah, he was just like he came to talk to me, and I forgot what he was looking for, but um, we were just chit chatting, and I was able to help him, but I just remember our conversation because he was basically my thing was it's like I'm looking at his grades and everything. I'm just like, bro, you are crushing it in this program. Like you're running rings around these kids. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, they're now when I say kids, like the program was filled mostly with a bunch of 18 to 20-year olds, right? And then there, and he wasn't the oldest student in the program, right? But with him, both of us being in our 30s, it's like, yeah, we have seen some things, right? And so he was just so like just awesome about it, right? It was a good experience for him. He gave mad props to his classmates. He was like, they're great. I love their energy. And I'm like, I do too, right? Like they're gonna be fine, right? But then when he was telling me a little bit about his backstory, basically he had been like toiling in like lower paying jobs. He said that the last thing that he did before he got into the program was like food service. He's working at a fast food restaurant, and he was just like, he had a family, and he recognized at that point like I got to do something else. Like I have to be able to do something else. And he said that the auto tech program just kind of like was a good fit for him. And when I came and I started working there and had this interaction with him, he was getting close to the end of that program, and doing great, right? So earnings potential always, right? For us, yes, money and being able to maintain, that's a big motivator. So that's reason number two. All right. Reason number 3, shorter training time. NCES, basically, as we already know, but they say that, trade programs are typically shorter than 4 years. I mentioned earlier. Yes, right. Programs, community college programs, especially if you're going for the Associates of Applied Science degree in that particular field, 2 years, right? That's like a 2-year program. But they have other training programs that are definitely less than 2 years, right? Like I said, in the trade model of trade schools, uh, the training at the actual school itself could be a few months, right? Several months, a couple of months, whatever it is based on that particular trade in that field. And then the rest of your learning you do out on the field, right? You do out on the job, or what do they call it? OJT, on the job training, right? You are an apprentice at that point. But overwhelmingly, a shorter training time, right? Why does this matter? Adults may prefer quicker entry into the workforce compared to longer academic programs, like that gentleman, right? So if he's anxious to kind of get out there and make more money, right? 2 years, turn around, that's it, and then he could be on his way. And again, for other areas, so for instance, when it comes to like IT, for instance, just like in the old wild wild days of the internet, right? The wild wild west days of the internet, before the first like uh, .com bubble and boom, right? Um, or pop, I should say. Uh, all you needed really was like the skills and maybe a certification, right? Now, a lot of times, someone if you are like inclined, right? Like if you uh are someone who is what is the word I'm looking for? You not like spatial. If you are spatial and if you have like technically inclined, right, and you know that stuff like in and out, often for a lot of jobs you don't need to have a degree, right? They may ask for the industry certification. We'll talk about certifications in a minute, but yeah, right, that might be all that's needed. So and what is the training time on that? It's like that's really up to that individual. uh Someone that I know has a family member who's a younger person, but they basically watch some YouTube videos like I've heard people do, and got a few certs just from watching someone kind of like explain it all on YouTube. That took however long it took them, right? It was like a set amount of time. It was like, okay, they went, took the test, passed it, and got the cert, and then went and got a job, right? So it's like, right? And now, please know that I'm not getting any sponsorship from anybody, right? I'm brand new, so nobody's sponsoring me. I'm sponsoring myself, right? That's it. But Google, for instance, has a lot. Even Microsoft, they have these like free certification programs, right? Where you could do it, and they have some paid ones, but they also have some free ones that, I've understood like some people have been able to like change jobs, change careers, pick up a job just from doing this. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome, right? So that shorter time makes a lot of sense, especially again for us as adults, right? The pressure may be there to hurry up and do something different to make money or more money, right? So it actually makes sense. Um, so yeah, so shorter training times makes perfect sense. Now, on to reason number 4, which is lower cost. This comes again from NCES. Basically, trade schools and community colleges have lower tuition costs than four-year universities. I did dig a little bit deeper with that because I wanted to try to get like an idea or a range, right? So the average tuition for trade schools, and I'm really putting this more as like maybe more of those institutions, those standalone institutions like an ITT Technical Institute, as opposed to a community college. Although depending on your area, right, community college can not be as costly as university, but still not, still can cost money. But they said that the average tuition for a trade program basically is around $33,000, like for the entire program, right? It could be lower or higher, but this is like supposed to be an average, right? And again, factors that impact the cost are just that. It's going to be cheaper overall if you do it at a public institution, like a 2-year community college, as opposed to a private one, like an ITT Technical Institute, right? It's just a fact. The length of the program, of course, can impact that, so forth and so on. So that being the case, overall, there is a lower cost involved, right? And when it comes to those types of programs, often other ways that the costs are kept low, they're really, those programs are like commuter programs, right? A 2-year community college is typically a commuter campus. There's no dorms, for instance, or a place to live on campus, right? You go to the campus, and then when you're done, you leave the campus, right? So it's not like a university where you live on that campus as well. Often with these types of programs and these types of institutions, no, you don't live there. So that helps keeps costs down. And then other things as well. Like I said, because these programs are shorter, it doesn't take up a lot of your time. Time has a money of what is the equation? The time value of money, right? So there's an equation to determine how much your time is actually worth in dollars, right? But because these programs are shorter, then you save money because you don't have to spend as much time, which can equate to money and dollars to complete these programs. So lower cost all around. Why it matters. Adults may seek to minimize student loan debt, which is absolutely true, or have limited financial resources for education. Now, often with these types of programs, yes, just like a student who is attending a community college or a college or university, and maybe they need to take out loans or access financial aid to pay for it. Often, when it comes to even at the like an ITT, for instance, the reason that the Obama administration was coming after them was because they were eligible to take financial aid dollars from the Department of Education, right? So, yes, those programs are not just because it's for profit or private, it doesn't mean you have to pay out of your pocket up front. Up front. You can take advantage of financial aid if you qualify, all right? So, by going that route, you lower your costs and you're not into the feds with a bunch of student loan debt or a bunch of, just debt, period. Sometimes people do get in trouble, right? The reason that Everest College, for instance, which was a career and technical institution, was closed is because they were just running afoul in many ways of the rules, policies, and laws regarding financial aid, and students themselves suffered because they were taking out a lot of debt just to do programs that they probably could have done for a lot cheaper at a community college. Right? So lower cost definitely is a big reason for us. All right, so I'm going on to reason number 5, right, which is hands-on learning. Okay, so what Jim and I did here was research different learning styles. This didn't come from a data set or anything like that, but it states that studies in educational psychology show that some individuals learn best through hands-on experiential learning. Now, that word, experiential learning, is one that I threw out in a previous video. It basically, if you just, for lack of better words, or just being very literal, it means learning through your experience, right? Not that just having an experience, but learning what you learned because of the experience. Experiential learning. But yes, the key word here in this explanation of like hands-on learning is just that it's learning styles, right? Meaning that there are many different ways to learn. There's no one way, right? That's when I did the video previously. Okay, there's a gentleman. It's a. I don't know if you can hear that or not. There's a teenager, a young person in my neighborhood who I don't know. He got a like one of those little motorized bikes, right? And he's been driving it or riding it, I should say, all winter. Like he started last summer. I think it's when he first got it, and he rides and rides and rides. I personally, it's legal. He's legal, right? So he's respectful of the community and the neighborhood, basically. So he's not like riding it all crazy hours. At the same time, it's a little bit on the loud side, right? So it's one of those little mini bikes. But I saw him out one day, and he was kind of like doing like popping a wheelie. I think it was. I'm like, okay, so I think he's getting ready for summer, right? This summer because he rides it like almost every day. I'm not mad at him. I'm what's the word I'm looking for? I'm encouraged by his focus and his dedication. Is what I am, and I am too. Truly, learning is learning no matter what. But anyway, so learning styles. That's where I was talking about, right? So many different ways to learn, right? Just like there are many different ways to be intelligent, right? There's no one way to be intelligent. That's part of my, I said I wasn't going to go back on a rant, but that's another thing that I'm like so frustrated about when it comes to this argument or this division between like CTE and academic learning, right? Or academic programming, where I'm like, no, like we can all be intelligent. It just maybe we exhibit uh, 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 more prominence in one area, right? Maybe we exhibit more mastery in a different area than someone else, right? Maybe somebody is scholarly and academically intelligent, right? But it doesn't mean that that's the only way to be intelligent, right? Maybe someone is spatially intelligent. Like I know people like that. It's almost like freakish, where it's just like they can look at something and in their mind envision it like in a 3D model in their brain, right? Because they're so spatial, and then turn right around and say, okay, yeah, here it is. I was able to look at it, size it up, and know exactly what the problem is fixed. Or they can build something, and it's just like, but did you like how did you know? And it's just like, well, I just kind of like worked it out in my head. A spatial learner or a spatial thinker. That's a way to be intelligent, right? Well, the same thing is with a learning style. There in the very near future, I will be doing a video about different theories of intelligence. For instance, one of the most prominent in like educational psychology and just in education period is Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, where he kind of breaks it all down, like the different ways we could be intelligent as human beings, right? We will talk about that, but we'll also in that video talk about different learning styles too, kind of like adult learning theory, right? Other theorists have some ideas about when it comes to humans and children and adults, right? Our learning styles, right? Learning styles meaning that are you more of a visual learner? Do you have to see it, right? Are you more of an auditory learner? Do you just need to hear somebody explain it to you once and you got it, right? Um, are you a combination of those things, right? And being hands on is one of those ways that we learn. You have to actually, so you could see it and I could tell you all day, but until you put it in your hands and touch it and kind of like go over it, right? And inspect it or whatever it is that you have to do, then it's not really going to resonate with you, right? It could be an impediment to your learning. So when you know that about yourself, that, I'm really more of a hands on learner, right? It makes perfect sense. And again, this is why I say that, CTE has a rightful place in post secondary education because to me, it kind of combines the best of both worlds, right? Whenever I would hear individuals like, just cast aspersions basically on academic programming and academic learning, um, sometimes, very vehemently, right? It's just like, whoa, tell us how you really feel, why don't you, right? Part of that is, to me at least, it was almost just like maybe they was it that they felt like they did not have the capacity for academic learning, right? So they're going to just talk trash, talk shit about it, right? In favor or in lieu of something more vocational, technical, that sort of thing, right? Um, at the same time, like I said, it bothered me because it's kind of just like when I think about the way that a lot of career and technical programs are structured, even trade school, like I said, you don't just go out there and do it. You start off in a classroom environment. There are textbooks, right? There are quizzes and exams, just like in an academic program, right? So, for instance, going back to that AAS, the Associates in Applied Science and Auto Technology program that was still is, as a matter of fact, at the community college that I used to work at. Right. They had classes. They had to go sit in a classroom just like any other student on that campus, right? The difference, though, in their program was that they also would have to be out in the shop, right? They had plenty of cars for them to actually apply, right? All that theory that they were picking up in the classroom, apply that theory and that knowledge to the actual problem at hand, to the auto at hand, right? So they were getting all of that right there as well. Now, on the academic side of the house, right? Same. If you are a chemist, right, you're not going to just sit in the classroom and they're going to tell you about periodic tables and chemical interactions and things like that. You'll hear about all that in class, but then guess what else you'll do? you'll go into the lab and you'll do your own experiments, or you'll do the experiments that are assigned to you, right? Same deal with biologists and things like that. So in some way, right, it still functions the same. It looks the same because in many ways it is, right? So hands-on learning, understanding the way you learn, understanding the learning style that best suits you, right? There you have it. Like, I guess my point is that even if you are not quote unquote college material, you're not getting out of the learning, right? That because even if you go the CTE route, damn it, you're still going to learn, right? You are still learning something in a structured formal environment. It does not matter, right? Learning is learning, damn it. Like, don't come at me with that bullshit. But that's just me. All right, I digress. All right, why this matters, right? Trade schools offer practical hands-on training that appeals to adults who prefer the learning style, which is true, right? Like I said, I know people who are really good, and that's it, right? It's not that they can't learn anything else, but this is the preferred way to learn. So yeah, so CTE programming gives those individuals the opportunity to work with their hands and love it, right? All right, we're on to number 6. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is kind of like duh, but I did definitely wanted to share. Maybe something here was just like news to you, right? Because a couple of things here, I'm just like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. So I'm glad I did this. All right, reason number 6 is career change or advancement. All right. It says surveys and reports from organizations like the Association for Career and Technical Education is a thing, the ACTE, often highlight career change as a motivator for adult learners in trade programs, right? Makes absolute sense. I just mentioned to you, I was telling you about the one student that I had the pleasure of working with and talking to, and we were about the same age. But again, he was looking to change his career and advance, right? He was looking to come out of food service because he's just like, I feel like I'm kind of like, in a rut, stuck, and too old to be in food service. So I'm in here in this program trying to chart a different course for me, chart a different path. In effect, that was it. Perfect sense, right? I told you all about the gentleman who was the mechanic. Now, his reasons for doing it, and when you think about it, again, that's the part to me that's so amazing, right? Did he have to be an MD? Right? If he was worried about the health of his community, did he have to be a doctor? No, he could have done a lot of other things, right? But in effect, this was also a career change, right? It was a career change in the purest, simplest form because, right, it's not like something that's tangential, right? Like I used to be a physician's assistant, but then I went back and finished my MD, or I used to be a nurse and now, right? This guy went from this is not fruit to fruit, like I told you earlier, like a fruit to fruit comparison, right? This is really like a apples to blue comparison, like fruit color. Where's the connection almost, right? um but his motivation, like they talked about motivation, his motivation for doing this was basically that he wanted to better serve his community, right? That's the theme that tied it, to me, these things together, him being a mechanic in the community, him being a doctor in the community, but still to serve the community. So yes, this is another one of those like duh, but right. If you are looking to change careers, then just like with those students who are going back to school in academic programs, this is the reason also for CTE. You want to do something different. You want to kind of prepare yourself and advance yourself in a career, in your life, right? Financially, that makes sense. So why does it matter? Adults may seek new career paths for better job satisfaction, higher pay, or improved work-life balance, right? And of course, especially when it comes to us as adults, that balance thing, right? Um, that's important to us, whether we know it or not, right? I think about going back to the gentleman, like I said, who I met in the auto tech program. I think I would imagine, right? We didn't talk about this, but I would imagine, right? Um, like what kind of like any type of shift work like that, right? Where is the balance? Like, are you just inundated with shifts, and I've known people like that over the years, right? Where you are in a particular field, not just food service, but just in a particular field, and it seems like you're just like a hamster on the wheel, right? And it never ends, right? It never ever ends, and you're just going and going and going. So it's like, where do you have time for yourself? Where do you have time to even take just like to steal time to rejuvenate, right? To meditate, to just kind of like woosah it out, to reinvigorate yourself so you can get back out there and on that grind. Often we don't, right? So something even like I said, like these types of professions, yes, right. Another thing I think about too when it comes to CTE is how many individuals who are products of career and technical education, how many of them are also entrepreneurs, right? Who have their own businesses, right? Who can set their own schedules and create or improve, right, their work-life balance, right? Um, like I said, most of us, I think, at this point in our lives, have encountered, some skilled laborers, right? I've had work done in my house. Maybe you've had work done at your house. I've definitely had work done on my car. And if you go into someone's shop that's not like a chain or owned by, a business or a corporation, it's like an independent shop, then yeah, you know that you're on their time, right? And even though you're going to pay out the nose often, but you're on their time. Oh, I can bring it by this day. Or we'll see you on this time. Oh, no, we're not going to be here. Or, no, I'm not going to be here. Or whatever. So yes, right. So these are great motivators, right? Just to be able to kind of have some semblance of some normalcy in your life, right? So yes, that's reason number 6, which makes absolute sense when you think about it. All right, we have finally made it to reason number 7. Okay, so here's reason number 7. Industry recognized credentials, right? Websites of trade schools and professional organizations, for instance, the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence, or the ASE, often emphasize the value of industry certifications earned through their programs, right? Why this matters. These credentials validate skills and increase employability for adults in the job market. Now, industry recognized credentials is something that I did not think about, but it actually, when you think about it, makes sense, right? The ASC, whether you know it or not, is something that I think you probably are actually familiar with, right? Here's how and here's why. So going back to, auto technology, right? Auto mechanics and auto technicians. So does someone need industry certifications or industry recognized credentials in any way in order to do what they do? No, not typically. You don't, right? Meaning that, let's say the students in that auto tech program at the community college I worked at, everybody goes to the program, they all graduated, right? And when they are done, they will have a degree and an associate's degree in applied science and auto technology, right? So that, or automotive technology, excuse me. That means that they can take that credential, go to different shops and businesses and say, hey, I am a degreed auto mechanic and I'm looking for a job. And that shop can say, okay, great, right? Now, it does not mean that they cannot work. However, right, in that field of automotive technology, there is an industry recognized credential, right? It is and I think there might be several, but the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence, excuse me, or the ASE, is like one of the oldest and one of the best known, right? If you have ever maybe recall like going to like even at the dealership at the service repair department, and you bring your car in, you may see licenses on the wall like from the state and things like that for them to operate. But every now and then, maybe, I know I've seen it, but you'll see sometimes a certificate, right? A frame certificate. Typically, that certificate is from the ASE, indicating that someone there, right, is an ASE certified mechanic, right? It's a level of excellence, right, of mastery, right? So if for instance, if that degree provided you learning that took it to like a number 8, right? Training, studying, and passing an ASE exam takes your skills now and like they said, your marketability and your employability up to like, let's say, a 14. I'm just making up, speaking hypothetically, but right. So it adds another layer basically of or demonstrates another layer of mastery, of excellence, right? If you've heard and like from a marketing perspective, maybe you've heard of a repair shop or something like that, or even a dealership talk about all of our mechanics are ASE certified. right? That is a point of pride and a point of a marketing point as well, because what you're conveying to the public is every mechanic that we got, they're not just great, they're freaking phenomenal, right? They and the ASC, right? The National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence has confirmed and verified because they are all ASC certificate holders. They are the best of the best, right? So industry recognized credentials, yes, because again, it translates to um, better jobs, better prospects, more money, right? Like on the flip side, if I am an ASC certified mechanic and you want to pay me uncertified mechanic wages, then it's like I could, in effect, say, well, no, I'm ASC certified. I'm going to go and keep looking because someone else may say, okay, we'll pay you a little bit more. Um, and we see that not just in the automotive field, but in other fields as well, right? So when you look at things, like I said, that really are like career, like in healthcare, for instance, right? Um, there are a lot of other credentials that healthcare professionals can obtain that can help them become more marketable, that can help improve their finances or them financially because it's extra training, maybe some specialization or something that they are now have now completed that demonstrates to the employer, that demonstrates to their field that, hey, I am not just this, but I am a that, right? I have a higher level of understanding, a higher level of learning, a higher level of comprehension of things. I have a specialty in this, so forth and so on, right? It happens, I believe, in the IT field as well. So yes, the industry recognized credentials can go a long way in improving someone's prospects. Okay. All right. Having rounded out number 7, I'm done. I went through all 7 reasons, and I'm sure I'm forgetting or omitting, not intentionally, right? But what I want you to do is, if it's something that I didn't mention or even remotely address in my 7 reasons, right? And I asked Gemini shared these 7 with me, right? They look good to me, right? But if it's something I'm completely and totally just like I said, omitting from this list, let me know. Just drop it in the comments or send me an email. Right? Connect at the adult, no, not the, connect at adultlearnerlounge.com. Right? Hit me up because I can always revisit this topic later. Right? Always. Um, and as I kind of close this out, again, like I said, just to me, learning is I'm so passionate about it. Like it just it's almost just like it blows my mind that as human beings, like I said, we have the capacity for this. Like again, like this to me is such a superpower, right? And it doesn't stop at any age, right? And so that's why to me it's like I don't it's almost like it's like put some respect on CTE's name. That's how that's how I feel about it, right? Like I'm always like casting a side eye over the years. Like over the years when I'm like, in these spaces and meetings and I'm speaking with, colleagues and I'm listening and and I'm getting um my brain is like rotting out in real time because I'm being held hostage in a conference or whatever it is, right? It does not happen often, right? It's not like anyone on the academic side of the house is just sitting around. I'm sure that they are, but I haven't really encountered anybody who just sits around all day uh um talking crap about the CTE side of the house, right? But when I've heard like these like errant comments throughout the years where it's just like it just shocks me to my core because it's just like how could you not respect that type of education? Like it's almost just like how can you not respect skilled labor? Like skilled labor it helps us all. Like yes, right. And this is what I had a debate with somebody once about this, and when I said this, it was just like we were a fist fight probably could have broken out because I definitely like shots were fired when I said this shit, right? Because I'm like I said, they're like, well, I mean, you work in higher ed and blah 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 blah. I mean, I'm not saying that's not like vital work to to be a skilled labor, but it's just not the same. And I'm like, it's not the same, but it's not so far removed from each other that it's so drastically different either, right? I said, when you think about it, someone who goes to school to be a doctor, an MD, right? To me, how isn't it like very similar to someone who goes to school to become like a plumber, right? Right? You would have thought that I would have like spit in that person's eye and cursed their mother, right? Which I probably should have because I was just like, ugh. But anyway, I did not, right? But it was like like a sacrilegious statement, like, right, just because a higher value, especially here in the United States, is placed on an MD, right, as opposed to a plumber, doesn't mean shit. Because in my mind, an MD and a plumber can make the same fucking money. That's why I'm like, that plumber can make the same money as someone who's a doctor, right? Be real, right? Why is that? Like, that's not a coincidence. Why is that, right? Because a vital need is being met. An MD is someone who, in effect, right, went through a program that in many ways is like a career and technical program, right? It's We'll talk about this in the upcoming video, but medical school, law school, education programs to be a teacher, those teacher school, right? Those types of things. They're called professional programs. Professional, right? Because that's the value that we place on these particular roles, not just here in the United States, but in other parts of the world as well. These are professional programs, but in many ways, they kind of function and operate like career and technical programs. Sorry, right? I didn't make this up. So, yes, I don't like when these types of programs, this type of education, period, does not get its due or its proper respect. That's it. That's my take on it right now. I will fight you or anybody on that take because it's not even a hot take to me. It's just like it's a fact, right? So I want you to be clear again, like I said, that for me, for the Adult Learner Lounge and everything I'm trying to do this for the betterment of all of us, right? And if this is the path that you see for yourself as an adult, because I think that we can get so confused into thinking like, okay, I want to go back to school, but if you really know that going the academic path may not be the best path for you for a host of reasons, then all is not lost because maybe a CTE path can open up for you and it could be a much better fit, right? How will we know unless we, kind of explore that? How will we know unless we figure it out or try? And in my mind, it's worth it. You are worth it. You are worth the effort. You are worth the trying, right? And either way, I know I can support. Why? Because again, a lot of the skills that you need to be successful in a college or university program are the same skills that you need to be successful in a career and technical program. Period. Period. Okay. All right. So, having taken off my soapbox, dust it up, all right, put it away, okay? Woosah. All right. Anyway, so I hope this enlightens you. I hope it resonates with you. Um, if you made it to the end of the video, as always, thank you so much. Okay. Like the video, subscribe. I've been getting more views. I'm really excited about that. I haven't got any likes or subscriptions yet, right? Any subscribes. But I do want you to subscribe, of course, right? If you're feeling me, if you're feeling this, then subscribe. But yeah, I'm feeling much more better about everything, right? I know it takes time, and I'm definitely going to take that time. I'm going to definitely dig in because it's so enjoyable to me. I'm learning a lot about this whole YouTube Landia thing. Like I told you, YouTube is not like just a platform; it's a place. I call it YouTube Landia, and I'm excited because I have, like I said, a little bit of real estate here in YouTube Landia. I'm excited about that. So I'm learning things, and I'm listening to people who are mentoring me who don't know that they're mentoring me, but because they are putting out the content to help people be better YouTubers. Basically, they are my mentors, and I'm trying to apply many different things, right? So I'm all theory right now, but I'm trying to apply it here in this channel. So your feedback, right? I think I mentioned before that feedback is very important in the learning loop. So that's where your comments, right, can help me out. So leave comments, please. Connect with me, like maybe an email, right? Connect at adultlearnerlounge.com, right? Yeah, right. Let's build that community. Let's communicate. Let's help each other out, right? Because again, we all will benefit when we do. All right. Having said that, you all take care. Enjoy the rest of your day and your week, right? And as always, never forget, right? Do not forget, we never stop learning. We never stop learning. All right. Bye.